Support for Love Wrestling is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. So join the over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their personal grooming needs. And we have an exclusive offer for you here at Love Wrestling. Use our promo code LOVEWRESTLING at manscaped.com for 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping. Head over to Manscaped. Love Wrestling's your promo code. Your balls will thank you. We're going to be back with PowerrrOut just after the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, Power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's PowerrrOut. Yeah, it's PowerrrOut.
What's going on, friends? We are kicking off your Love Wrestling double feature of reactions of NWA and WWE NXT, as always, with PowerrrOut. My name is Zach, and as always, joining me, Ella J. How's it going, friend?
I'm going pretty good. Also, I just realized we're talking about the Manscaped when Ticket is right next to you, so I'm glad you didn't pull it out this week. Ticket might have gotten scared thinking he's getting a trim.
It might have startled him, but honestly, the way he behaves during these streams, whether he's sabotaging something, I have half a mind for malice. I don't want to harm him, and it seems like with the Manscaped precision engineering tools, with the anti-nick technology, maybe this is the way to go.
Maybe.
How's it going with you? How's your week going?
It's been a wild week already, and it's only Tuesday. It's going to get crazier from here. Okay, actually, that's a lie. This day was my busiest day of the week. But it's always a great week and a great night to be here every Tuesday on Love Wrestling and PowerrrOut.
It sure is. Always great talking wrestling with you. I'd also like to take the time to thank Astrid and Pluggo, who filled in for me last week on last week's edition of PowerrrOut. Let's say hi to some people in the comments. Bobby, great to have you as always. I have some breaking news. Kylan King versus Miranda Gordy for the CCW Women's Championship at Coastal Championship Wrestling, March 12th. I will be there to watch this match live. Dude, I hope you have an absolute great time. That sounds like a hell of a match. Ed, Zark has indeed returned. It's good to be back on PowerrrOut as always. DJ Speedy, thanks for the follow. Wonderful to have new followers over on Twitch. And WR Central, Josiah McDonald, thanks for tuning in. A great episode of Power. I could not agree more, and I've been very excited to talk about it with Ella. Pretty solid episode, huh?
Oh, hey, definitely too. And hey, Pluggo, I see you in the comments too. Oh my God, hey, Josh.
Oh, good.
Love
people
that.
Popping in. Slay it, friends. Thank you, Pluggo. And hi, Josh. Oh, I miss you. Yeah, so a solid episode of Power. And actually, before we jump into that, I'm seeing people comment from YouTube, from Facebook, and from Twitch. But we got a little bit of exciting news over at Love Wrestling. If you are tuning in, well, obviously you're tuning in live because I'm talking about it right now. But all live Love Wrestling content is going to be moving to Twitch from now on. So whether you're catching PowerrrOut, NXT, Turnbuckle Talk, Blowing Off Stream, Quizplex, Between Two Beards, live content can be found on twitch.tv/Love Wrestling starting next week. So this is the last time it will be live on YouTube. We're going to upload to YouTube about 24 hours after any given broadcast. So just to incentivize it a little bit, if you normally join us on YouTube, Bobby, I'm looking at you. Head on over to Twitch during this broadcast, sign up, start following us. By the end of PowerrrOut and early into the stages of NXT, I'm going to take the time to gift 3 subs to our Twitch channel. So please head on over. That's a lot of plugs I gotta get through.
I understand that struggle.
Bobby jumping in. Ella J, which wrestlers from Capital Championship Wrestling do you want to see wrestle at the NWA?
For his shot, two came off to the top of my head. One would be Kylan King returning to NWA. Obviously, we saw her at Empower. I think she would be great addition to that, but also like Lufisto is also a very well-versed veteran, and so NWA has this thing with history and honoring that, so I think she would bring great veteran experience to NWA as well.
Good shouts and a great question from Bobby. Last comment before we jump into our reaction of NWA. Josiah popping in saying his Love Wrestling TV shirt of victory. He won our last episode of Quizplex last month, and therefore he scored himself a Love Wrestling t-shirt. Has arrived and is literally sitting behind me at the moment. I am happy to hear that. I'm going to have some news about Quizplex in a little bit if you haven't been following Love Wrestling on social media. Very big episode of Quizplex ahead. Can't wait to share about that, but I also want to talk NWA because, again, great episode we have to talk into. This episode kicks off with, they're on the road. This is part of their Power Trip special, and it kicks off with Jack Stane in the ring interview with Joe Galley. He's asking Jack Stane is essentially summarizing, saying that the old Jack Stane who kissed babies, who hugged grandmas, is dead, just like he killed Anthony Mayweather in this very building a few months back. This transitions quickly into a squash match. Jack Stane makes short work of Eric Jackson, beats him from corner to corner, throws him from the top rope. Big lariat picks up the win, and there's a second promo, a second interview. This is like an interview sandwich, if you will. Kyle Davis comes in. He says Anthony Mayweather is in the building in spite of the existing restraining order between Jack Stane and Mayweather. Dane says he doesn't know what he's talking about. That sounds like nonsense. And Dane says that the world's going to be talking about him come the Crockett Cup, which Joe Galley alludes to a partner. Pretty solid segment. What'd you think?
Makes sense for him to squash Eric Jackson because you want him to look strong, definitely too, and Anthony Mayweather was nowhere to be seen, which would make sense with the restraining order. But for him to say that, he has no idea what he's talking about or he's talking nonsense when Kyle brought up, or was it Joe? No, it was Kyle Davis the second time. Yeah. When he talked about the restraining order that was on Anthony Mayweather, Jack Stane, denied it, which doesn't make sense because they've made a point to emphasize it and have this whole legal representative for it, but also they said that Anthony Mayweather couldn't be within a mile, but yet he's in the building, so it just doesn't really make sense to me. They've gone out of their way to bring an actor to play a legal representative for that, but now Jack Stane is like, what are you talking about? I don't know.
A little bizarre. And also a little bizarre is, while he's leaving, Joe Galley from the commentary table alluding to, Jack Stane's talking about the Crockett Cup. Is it possible that he's bringing in a partner? Now, this is, of course, airing after yesterday on NWA's YouTube channel. They announced the brackets to the Crockett Cup, which I actually wanted to take a moment to pull up right here. I got that handy. Well, not so handy that I can just click two buttons, but here it is. There we go. We got... let's take a closer look even. This is a little small on my screen. Overlays. Here we go. Put this up for now. So yeah, number 1 seed is, of course, the NWA Tag Team Champions, La Rebellion. Number 2 seed going to the Briscoes. These two teams will face teams who have not yet been determined. This will be determined by a fatal 4-way happening at the Crockett Cup in the case of La Rebellion. In the case of the Briscoes, it's going to be someone who's picked from the outreach that they've done on social media, trying to find some independent tag teams looking to join their ranks. Again, a pretty interesting feel. We got OGK, we've got the N showing up, Strictly Business. We've got Marche Rocket and Jordan Clearwater now being known as the Gold Rush. We've got the Fixers, the Cardonas, an interesting team name, which is of course going to be the name of Knox and
VSK.
VSK, absolutely. What do you think of this field right here?
Well, firstly, there's really only two ways then that Jack Stain could be in this, and I highly doubt it's going to be the outreach. So I guess by default, he kind of has to be part of that fatal four-way for the play-in that's going to be happening, I would assume, and whoever wins that obviously then goes on and is officially in the tournament. So that's really the only way he can enter that, if they're alluding to that, would be via the play-in. I think it's been kind of hinted at that people have for the to be determined ones for the outreach. There's been a couple teams they've posted about, I think, that have reached out to them that might be granted an opportunity. So that's interesting. I mean, it is airing at I don't know which order they film stuff in though too, whether Power Trip was probably first and then the Crockett Cup things, or who knows really. But there's a couple very interesting teams. There's some teams that also why can't Nick Aldis just wrestle twice? Like,
Yes.
literally built up British invasion. Like, they returned for the first time in years. They had a strong showing last week on Powerrr, which we saw between Doug Williams and Nick Aldis. And now, because Nick is going after Matt Cardona now, they said?
Yeah.
Which the kind of spoiled stuff now in this match hasn't even aired yet. You know, didn't they say for the championship too?
They did. They absolutely did. This is
just glossing over the fact that Matt Cardona is now the new NWA heavyweight champion, and we're already forgetting about Trevor Murdoch. So I just the reasoning of Nick Aldis not being in here, they haven't even shown Matt. Spoiler alert: Power Trip was filmed, and then now it's airing now. Matt Cardona's already shared that he's won the championship, so there's a little confusion there. Who's going to be Doug? Imagine it's Jack Stain. No way though, because Doug Williams is a babyface. No. He'd be a babyface. Imagine though. So I don't know who's going to be Doug Williams' partner, but like, I will say some of these rankings you could go either way. Personally, I think the end should be a bit higher. Because they had a strong showing. They made it all the way to the finals last week of Team War. They make it to the finals of like the championship tournament or something to become like number one contenders or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
A couple months ago. I think they should be a little bit higher, but there's definitely some interesting matchups coming up here. I also find we haven't seen the Briscoes a lot in NWA. Like, in a long time, so it's very high. They're very highly thinking of them, which rightfully so, but to place them at number 2, interesting choice.
Absolutely. Bobby pointed this out to me on social media, and I'm glad he brought the name back to us. Violence is Forever got announced for the play-in match in the Fatal 4-Way, so they'll be part of the match that determines who La Rebellion will be facing. Josiah, absolutely right. I don't think they know what order they film things in. They really need a continuity guy. I got a spoiler here from Dan J, but I welcome it at this point because everything is so jumbled when it comes to the NWA. Dan is saying that Williams' partner is going to be Anthony Mayweather. Okay,
which is also the new national TV champion, or what? Is that yeah.
National champion, as confirmed during the bracket reveal on YouTube just yesterday.
Just a guess.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense, though. Although Anthony Mayweather is the new national champion, they haven't aired it yet, but they mentioned it on the Crockett Cup that Chris Adonis is no longer the national champion, and it is Anthony Mayweather. So I don't know what's going to happen here.
The way they just casually spoil their own content is a little disappointing, but that is what it is. I'll tell you one thing, like, I got ahead of myself with this tournament. I was really hoping FTR was going to be a part of it because, like, they are so focused on their own legacy, and it just seems like the Crockett Cup is such a good fit for that kind of thing. Maybe they'll be part of the play-in. Maybe they'll be, I doubt they'll be like an indie team that Billy Corgan reaches out to or anything to that effect. But there's room for them there. But one thing, okay, I kind of spotted this on social media, and I wish I got screenshots, but Matt Hardy was kind of jaw-jacking with Matt Cardona on the Twitter machine, saying that, like, maybe he's going to come down to the NWA and take the NWA championship from him. But Matt's brother, his non-compete ends March 9th, which gets plenty of time between that and the Crockett Cup. So Hardy's in the Crockett Cup. What do you think of that?
Don't tease me like this, Zach.
I am hoping if I put FTR, my hopes so high on FTR, I'm going to raise everyone else's hopes with something as bombastic as the Hardy Boys.
The Hardy Boys are officially returning together on March 13th. So they will already be tag teaming. And then this is what, March 19th and 20th? Never say never in pro wrestling.
I am very much hoping. I think that we're going to have lots of time to be speculating about the Crockett Cup in the future. I just want to throw out a few more comments here. Josiah, me too. FTR would be a perfect fit. I don't know who's manning the Love Wrestling Twitch channel right now, but I thank them for this. Spoiling your own product, that'll put butts in seats. Dan J, the Briscoe brothers will go far in this tournament because it might lead to an ROH NWA partnership and the two brands working close together when ROH comes back. I mean, before the pandemic shut down NWA Power, these two brands were working very closely together. Josiah, yeah. I think everyone would mark out for the Hardy Boys in the Crockett Cup. Dan is there with us. Yeah, and what do we got, Bobby? Jay Spade is number one contender for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Again, that's another thing I'm going to be talking about, especially when we get to the 2 out of 3 falls match later tonight. But man, very stacked Crockett Cup that I'm looking forward to.
Definitely too. I'm very interested to see who the last team, or I guess last 2 teams, end up being, plus Doug Williams' partner. It has to be somebody who's kind of like a baby face. I'm so sad it's not Nick Aldis, though. Like, we had a couple weeks of British Invasion back, and now they're already getting split up because I don't know. I also don't know the story between Nick Aldis and, unless I'm just not following something between Nick Aldis and Matt Cardona. Is there something that I'm missing that he became number one contender?
Again, like it's you can't keep the cat in the bag when it comes to spoilers of this magnitude. You know, obviously we're talking about Cardona being the championship, but apparently after that win, Nick Aldis was like hot coming to the ring and just pretty much just laid down the gauntlet, setting up this match. So I'm sure we're gonna see that next week on Power. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's the Crockett Cup, and I'm looking forward to see what happens. I too am disappointed that the British Invasion won't be participating, and I think that would have added to the championship story. But again, that's unfortunately neither here nor there. We move on to the second match of the night on Power. We've got Chelsea Green taking on Kenzie Page. We get a cool and collected, non-hot mess incarnation of Green here. Back and forth pinfalls kicking off the match, shut down by Chelsea slapping Kenzie. Kenzie shows some solid offense. Big T-bone suplex looked amazing. She looks for a dropkick to the outside, but Green dodges and turns the match around. She's on top of Paige for the rest of the match. Series of clotheslines and a big German suplex by Chelsea. Double headbutt knocks them both down. They're fighting their way to their feet. Kenzie scores a couple of near falls, but then Chelsea Green, I didn't see how this happened. She feigns a broken nose. Pardon me, and Kenzie takes her eyes off the prize. She looks away for some reason, allowing Chelsea Green to hit the unprettier for the victory. What do you think of this matchup?
It looked like at the end there, Kenzie got distracted by somebody in the crowd. Although I didn't see anybody on that side of the crowd saying anything, so it was probably just to play up the spot and pretend that like somebody in the crowd was distracting her. Just for no reason. I don't know. But I mean, definitely Chelsea's been playing up the heel. She's very, like, I love her in her heel work. I don't know why they had her slip into like hot mess if they weren't going to go full force with it, because she's been like heel and baby face at times too. But in this case, she was playing up the heel part, obviously faking an injury and then yelling out at the crowd, "This is your girl," when she had Kenzie, I think, in a headlock at one point. But Kenzie definitely brought a lot of fight. That there was definitely that cool spot where they both headbutted each other and took each other out. And then at the end, it was cool too that Kenzie, I think, originally reversed Chelsea's unprettier, but then Chelsea went for it again and picked up the victory. I thought for sure Chelsea would be getting the win here. Apparently, though, I don't know. Kenzie shared on Twitter, too, that she got a contract. So I'm wondering if it is with NWA, considering she just had this match. I think it has to be. But she shared that she got a contract recently. It hasn't been confirmed with what company, but I would think it would be NWA, especially if she's getting opportunities like this, especially on, like, I guess you would call it a premier live event, like WWE would say, on
right.
Power Trip. But this was, I mean, this was a solid matchup. They definitely got over 10 minutes, which is great. Although, I mean, considering there was only 4 matches on this, you should have given them some time. So I was happy to see this. I think Chelsea was the right call here. I was expecting her to win. Chelsea's been losing a bit lately, so I think that it's time that she picked up another victory. But Kenzie did amazing too. Kenzie definitely keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, very strong match. I enjoyed this one top to bottom. Astrid's joining us. Hey, Astrid, thank you for tuning in. One of the co-hosts last week who filled in for me. Once again, thank you very much. Yeah, Josiah popping in. Great match. Kenzie Page was absolutely fantastic. Finish was a bit, again, echoing our statements about the ending. It was just a little bit unclear. I know there were some vocal members of the audience that I hear a little more apparently in later matches, and maybe that tied into it, but, you know, it was a little unclear, unfortunately, for a few of us, certainly. Bobby, I would like to see Chelsea Green versus Christy Janes. What do you think of that one?
I think that would be, but they're both heels, though. Christy, I mean, but they both bring great attitudes, so I would be here for it.
Absolutely. Dan J, finish notwithstanding, Kenzie is getting better and better, and she's only going to get better with age. Absolutely. And yeah, I want to hear more about where this contract is going to be bringing Christy Janes. We move on to, again, this is my match of the night, and it's kind of hard for it not to be. We've got Colby Carino taking on Rhett Titus, 2 out of 3 falls match. This begins with Colby rejecting Rhett's code of honor handshake, spills right into some chain wrestling before the pace is picked up very quickly for this first round. It sees Rhett Titus hitting a beautiful dropkick to finish off Carino in the first round. Second round of the contest is all Colby Carino as he puts Titus through the ringer while taking every unfair advantage he can find until finally he catches Rhett with a schoolboy with a hand on the middle rope with a ref not being able to see it. Third fall is back to that pace of the first round. These guys are going a mile a minute. They're swinging for the fences. They're working each other's backs. And finally, Colby Carino, another unfair advantage. Low blow behind the ref's back, followed by a rolling elbow to the back of Rhett Titus's head for the win. Fixers come out to celebrate with Colby Carino holding him up on his shoulders. Really, really great match.
I think you shared some relatable sentiments on Twitter about this. Like, we don't know why it was a 2 out of 3 falls match, but it didn't matter because the quality was good. I will say, though, I feel like the first pin was kind of abrupt. I mean, he hit the drop kick, but I didn't think it would be devastating enough to put Colby away so early already. But then obviously would make sense that then Colby then was down in the numbers. He was at a disadvantage and had to fight and claw his way. I mean, his tactics of getting pinfall, whatever, is questionable, but it goes into his character and all of that. And we're definitely seeing more Ring of Honor people now as Rhett Titus is current champion, right, in Ring of Honor?
Yeah, television champion.
Yeah, so we've seen Rhett Titus before in NWA in the last few months too, but it's cool that they're bringing in more Ring of Honor representation in there while Ring of Honor is on a bit of hiatus too, much like OGK and also like the Briscoes and all of that. But definitely they got a lot of time and it was great overall. I feel like Colby Carino was the right winner here. Whether dependent on him how he won the match is another thing with a low blow, but it goes into I think his like relationship with I'm actually surprised that the fixtures didn't really play much into this match at all. So
yeah, when they came out at the end, I believe I heard Joe Galley say something to the effect that the fixers were barred from ringside, but that was like not apparent. Yeah, but like again, that wasn't apparent to me either throughout the contest itself. Again, yeah, like I said on Twitter, I don't know why it was 2 out of 3 falls, but I just shut up and enjoyed it once they really got going. I'll tell you what this match really accomplished for me. It made me feel like I'm missing NWA USA, which admittedly I have not yet watched, but I understand that there's a tremendous focus on their junior heavyweights division, in which Colby Carino and Rhett Titus are featured themselves.
That would make sense then why these two were going at it. Then again, I don't really follow NWA USA either, but it would make sense like chronologically it makes sense for at least that translates over. It's not just seemed like it's thrown together. So at least there's some reasoning behind this one.
Absolutely. Bobby's popping in saying, I would like to see Rhett Titus versus Darius Lockhart. Again, Darius Lockhart, there's another one that I feel like I should be watching NWA USA for, because it feels like they're building that brand around Darius Lockhart. At least that's the sense I gather from their promotional materials. Josiah, that dropkick is one of his finishes in the Peer Division Championship matches in ROH, but it was a bit off-putting. I like that. It was off-putting to me as well, but I like that he went for the dropkick finish later, but Colby just happened to get his foot on the ropes. Good storytelling there. Dan J, Rhett Titus is amazing. Colby Carino is amazing. Great match. Wouldn't mind either of these guys getting title shots of the NWA soon, especially Carino. Yeah, he is becoming fast one of my favorites. Yeah. That was my thought too, Zach. Immediately, I need to watch NWA USA catch up. I will be doing the same thing there, Josiah. Moving on the NWA Power card, we've got Taryn Terrell backstage with Kyle Davis. Taryn Terrell, she's like still spirited and bubbly, but she takes the time to tout her accolades and like, you know, she knows how to go in the bell. She says, check out her matches on YouTube. She's saying the Burke is going to be coming home with her after this match with Camille, and after this match, it's no longer going to be known as the Burke, it's going to be known as the Terrell. Like, this wasn't much. This was a very brief segment, but this was all I needed to buy into the match. All I needed was Taryn to remind everyone, like, yeah, I'm having fun now, but remember, I can go.
And she's a former NWA Women's World Champion, right? Like 3-time, I think they shared on Twitter, right? I think so.
I believe it. I admittedly am not exactly well versed in NWA's history before Power.
Fair. I think they shared on Twitter that she's a former like 3-time women's champion for NWA. And plus, like we said, we're used to Taryn being more so, at least in recent years, being more so in that manager role. And again, there really wasn't any build or story leading into this, but it definitely led to. Can you guys still hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. This definitely led to an interesting matchup, which technically they're both heels, but the crowd was behind Taryn in this one, and rightfully so, because I love Taryn Terrell is so entertaining as heck, and she can back it up on the mic and in the ring with her entertainment skills, and it was great. We'll obviously get into that in a moment, but she's great.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, let's jump into this match. Taryn Terrell versus Camille. Taryn takes the time to give herself her own formal introduction. She's talking herself up. Great detail here. She even brought a photo of herself, which will, of course, be inserted into the Burke once she becomes the NWA Women's Championship. Camille takes exception to it. Taryn spends a better part of this match just dodging Camille until she takes exception to when Taryn takes a water break. She's got that water bottle that she's produced for this match as well. And, you know, Camille just starts putting offense to her. Crowd is, like you said, crowd was behind Taryn, but I think Camille won them over by how dominating she was for this. There's some very apparent Camille chants that start picking up here. Any offense that Taryn Terrell finds is very short-lived. Camille escapes a camel clutch, dubbed the Thirst Trap. That's the first time I've heard that, and I think it's a great name for a finishing move. But Taryn Terrell is fought off with the Thirst Trap, and she is hit with a spear by Camille for the win. Yeah, after the bell, what did you think of this one?
Also, thank you to WR Central for doing that quick check. I don't know where I saw then. Somebody shared that somebody was a 3-time champion. I thought it was about Taryn, but I was obviously wrong. But she's former champion though, whether for NWA or not in her own right. But yeah, Taryn Terrell. I also love that it's called a Thirst Trap because she had her water bottle at ringside too. So I see you, Taryn.
Layers.
It's in the small details. But she kept reaching for that sparkling water bottle, and she is just made for like entertainment. And of course she's great in the ring as well, and she played that role that she needed to for Camille to dominate. I will say though, Taryn definitely gave up a valiant effort and a valiant fight, but obviously at the end there we saw Camille with the devastating spear into the corner. There were, like we said, there was no build or rhyme or reason behind this, because I thought Melina was the permanent #1 contender. But it goes to show Camille's been having a dominating reign, and I'm interested to see Who's going to be next? Are they going to have another number one contenders match? Like, who is going to be the one to stop Camille? We've been seeing Ring of Honor invade a lot of people. Maybe we could be seeing some Ring of Honor people coming in soon for on the women's side. So I don't know.
Yeah, like I'd certainly be welcoming a little more representation by the ROH women's division in NWA. But to be honest, like I'm kind of hoping that this is the first step towards Taryn Terrell getting a rematch, maybe at the Crockett Cup, because again they alluded to how good she has been in the past and how we didn't really see that in this one. She was still kind of like here, Josiah points it out. It's like one of the best parts. I was laughing every time she yelled help and went for the water bottle. Like, the match was exactly what it needed to be. It needed to be Camille being stronger and more powerful and dominating Taryn Terrell. Taryn had moments of offense, but like she wasn't that Taryn Terrell who won the TNA Knockouts Championship. If like this is like first step towards maybe a rematch with Camille and Taryn, I'd have time for that.
And Taryn did bump like crazy for Camille too. I mean, Taryn's a veteran for a reason. She's just like all around.
She's absolutely wonderful. Again, more shout outs to the finishing move from the wordsmith, the thirst trap. I mean, I'm here for it. Ed, who will be joining us in just a few short minutes for NXT, talk about thirst traps. Gotta talk NXT.
I know exactly who you're talking about too. At least my timeline told me that. I know who you're talking about.
Oh my, lots of fun to be had on the Love Wrestling double feature. We're gonna yield the stream to Astrid, Cody, and Ed for NXT in just a few short minutes. Please don't go anywhere. Stay in this very stream. You're going to be just stay right here. And again, the NXT team will be with you in just a few short minutes. But just a few quick plugs I want to get through. Once again, I want to remind you that we are moving. We're no longer going to be live on YouTube or on Facebook. We're moving all live Love Wrestling content to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/LoveWrestlingCA. So if you've been tuning in on YouTube or on Facebook, please head over to our Twitch channel. After we end PowerrrOut, I'm going to pop back into Twitch. I'm going to see who's joining us for the first time, and I'm going to gift out 3 subs to new followers over on Twitch. So please head on over. You've got a few short minutes before I'm there. And the other big news, I alluded to this after Josiah touted his Love Wrestling t-shirt, which was a prize on Quizplex. This coming Thursday, it's probably our biggest Quizplex ever. I've got the local hardcore hero Green Phantom joining us from out Western Canada, Thaddeus Archer III, the Guru of Guile himself, and the man who needs absolutely no introduction, the French Frankenstein, the living legend, PCO, is going to be a part of Quizplex this coming Thursday. So please join us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook. Once again, thanks so much for catching our review. My name is Zach. You can follow me at SmarkMouth on Twitter. Ella?
And much like Zach, you can follow me on Twitter too, right where it says down below at It's Ella Jane. If you go to the link in my bio, you can find my links to most of my projects.
Excellent. Please hang around the stream. Ed, Astrid, and Cody are going to be with you in just a moment as they spill the NXT on NXT. Take care, friends.
Hello, everyone in here. Thank you if you're sticking around joining us after that great episode of PowerrrOut with our friends Zach and Ella J. I am Cody. welcoming back this week myself, alongside the wonderful Natural Astrid and Mr. Ed Fries. How is everyone tonight after that episode of NXT?
Good.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a good
It started a little rocky, but we got there in the end.
in your eyes. I thought we started strong, had a lull, and came back, but everybody has their own opinion of what we're enjoying on the show, I think. It was good. It was a good episode overall. It wasn't too much of a fall off. I know we talked a little bit that some of these post special production shows have been a little weaker on the overall side. This one felt a little bit stronger. I'm gonna kick us right off the bat. Astrid, let's go to you. Where do you have your highlight of the night?
I think you guys can agree with me on this for a different reason, but I would say my favorite thing was watching Nikita tonight. That debut was really impressive. I barely took notes. I was also concentrated on her, but I love how she moved. I love her selling. I wish the crowd would have been more into it, but it's also her debut and they're getting to know her, so they'll probably take a little bit of time when it comes to that. But other than that, I'm like, her kicks were really well done. Her finisher move, everything. I loved it from beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. I know you have a lot to say on Nikita as well, so I'll give you the frame for now.
Yeah, I was surprised at how unwelcoming at a period in that match. The crowd came in expecting a squash match, and they got a showcase for both competitors. Nikita really gave a lot in this match. Her opponent had a ton of ability and got a lot of character work over being like, I'm not afraid of you, and paying dearly for it. She has a really cool finish that I'm excited to see her continue to use. She needs some seasoning. We'll be honest. She's young. She needs some seasoning, but she's got potential. She's really good in the ring. She can move around. She's entertaining. They need to get her a new theme song because she can't sing, but that's fine.
That's a different story.
She looked a little bit like Sonya Blade, so I was into it. It was great. I had a good time. She's entertaining and fun, and you know what? I enjoyed it. I had fun. She made me smile, and she, like Astrid said, she's really good in the ring. Her selling is really good for how young and inexperienced she seems to be.
Yeah, no, it was overall a good appearance. The Sonya Blade stuff kind of threw me for a loop at the beginning. I'm like, she's talked about her dad being a rock star. She's talked about dance and, learning to perform and all of, this and that. It felt weird that she was out there in more military looking style of gear to begin with, but overall, the match really did engage me. I agree. I did feel like the crowd kind of turned on the match a little bit when Kayla actually started getting some offense. I think they were expecting Nikita to just come out and be like a monster and just squash the much smaller competitor. But I think it was a good opportunity for her to work on her moves, but also show that she could sell as well. I know I mentioned to both of you while we were chatting during the show that her look is almost like a little bit leaner of a Nia Jax, but she has a lot more capability in the ring, and her athleticism really, really surprised me that she's more of a Keith Lee and somebody a little bit, not your tiny petite Barbie style wrestler, but she can still move really quick, and she had some rolls and some flips, and she looked really, really good. And same kind of vibe that Ivy Nile gave me right off the bat, that she's got a lot there to work with, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
And we mentioned Thirst Trap when PowerrrOut was talking, and about both me and Cody popped in with, if you're going to talk Thirst Trap, talks NXT. We had two different types of Thirst Traps tonight. Like, let's be honest. Like, Nikita Lyons is one type of Thirst Trap, and trust me, if you disagree, look at Twitter. If you disagree, look at Twitter. Like, I know she's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. But I'm telling you, there's enough people on Twitter that that's considered a thirst trap. And then you have Mandy Rose, and it's two totally different ends of the spectrum, but they're both playing off of the same similar idea of a different type of aesthetic beauty. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. At least they're giving us both sides. They're not saying that the only way to be beautiful is to be Mandy Rose. They're saying you can be a little bit thicker. You can be a little bit bigger. You can still be beautiful. You can still make the men want you. Like and women. Trust me. I'm on Twitter. Trust me. Not only men and women. It's an interesting dichotomy that they've got going on right now. And Wade Barrett is a whole nother ball of wax with him and Toxic Attraction. And I don't know who's writing the dialogue anymore.
Some days I wonder if Ed Fries is writing Wade Barrett's commentary when Toxic Attraction's around.
That would make a lot more sense.
No, I'm writing lines for Jensen. Trust me.
I thought Jensen was writing your dating profile.
Oh, we'll get into that later. And next week, apparently, because I've got myself in for something next week.
Anyhow, let's jump down to you next, Ed. We've spoken on Nikita. Now, what did you have for your highlight?
I'm going to leave the main event alone because I think that might be somewhere that Cody's going to go. I'm going to go with Carmelo Hayes. I'm going to go with that promo with Pete Dunne. It was really entertaining. He had a good flow with Trick. Pete Dunne came out. They had a nice back and forth. It made a whole lot of sense. He got his dig in on the Acclaimed. You know, he dropped it in real quick and real quiet and moved right on. And then Cameron Grimes and Trick Williams had a really fun match. You know, yes, again, back to the same line. Trick's got potential, but he needs some work. He needs some seasoning. There are a couple of spots where I'm like, ugh, Trick. But dude's got talent. Dude's got finesse. He looks great in that ring, and Cameron Grimes is a star, an absolute star. I can't wait to see what else he gets to do next after he moves on from Trick and Carmelo, which doesn't seem to be done yet, which is fine by me. But I had a lot of fun with this match. Carmelo Hayes is money on the mic. And just so I'm clear up something in the Slack chat, it's not a mellobration. That's going to be on YouTube on Monday. It's a mellobration.
He didn't emphasize the O enough for me.
Oh, God, no.
It sounded like a mellobration.
Might as well make it a thing at this point.
Let's just wrap the whole segment up into one, though, Ed. The match was excellent itself, but leading into the match, we had Carmelo and Trick come out for that mellobration. Carmelo talking more about, you know, he doesn't miss when he shoots his shot. He's the A champion. Dropped a whole bunch of different words that started with A, but definitely not the Acclaimed. But did mention, you know, when somebody comes at him, whether it's in person, in a video, or on the Bird app. But we also had Pete Dunne come out to challenge Carmelo after their brief interaction last week, came out and called his shot that next week he's going to take the A Champ's title away from him, which led to the Cameron Grimes blindside on Trick and Mello, which led into the match. And then at the very end, too, when Carmelo and Trick were celebrating and leaving the ring, I did catch, I don't know if either of you caught it, he definitely threw up the A, and as he was coming across the camera, cut away. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it definitely looked like they cut to avoid him ripping off that A again.
I mean, Cameron did him, though.
I was saying Grimes did it right on camera as Mello had his head down.
Yeah.
Grimes threw it up. Yep.
But overall, yeah, it was a great match. The one spot that looked a little weak for me from Trick, the only one that I really picked up on was the kick out where he kind of pushed but didn't even actually get his shoulder up. But for the most part, it looked like a pretty smooth match to me. I wasn't really being very critical of it. I was just enjoying it for what it was, I think. Trick on the mic is fantastic. Trick in the ring clearly is still developing. And not really on Mello's level as a whole, especially comparing what Mello and Grimes did compared to what Trick and Grimes did. You can tell Trick is still that step behind, but Grimes, he really is shooting to the moon. Astrid, where were you on this match?
No, yeah, the match is really entertaining. You can see like Trick has made progress in his in-ring work, and obviously that's not the end of it. He's going to keep continuing to make progress on it. Overall, plus having Carmelo on the mic and him on the mic, I love having them on the mic, especially on the ring, both of them. So give me either one, I'll be good with it. So I really enjoyed it, and having that segue of adding Pete in there. So Pete and Carmelo should be a good one as well. So I'm excited for the match whenever they decide to do it, because I don't think they mentioned, I think next week, if I'm not mistaken, maybe for that one.
Yeah, it was actually in the later announcement. They did confirm that Pete Dunne and Mello would go next week.
Yep, there you go.
For me, actually, I'm also not quite there on the main event as much as I enjoyed it. I am going to kind of stick to where I have seen my highlights for the last couple months. And that's all around on the Diamond Mine stuff. I'm a mark for the Diamond Mine at this point, really. Like, if Ed is a mark for Mandy, and it's me with the Diamond Mine. Ivy Nile, the Creed brothers, it's been a great showing all around. We had the Creeds celebrating their win last week, coming out, talking and calling out the Imperium, basically talking down that you guys haven't even defended the titles yet. You know, you keep saying the mat is sacred, but really, what are you doing to protect it? We had an altercation with Gunther and Eichner and Bartel coming out and walking down the ring, challenging them as not being ready. It resulted in the Creed brothers then attacking the tag champions, leaving Gunther all alone in the ring. Get it right, Gunther, not Gunther, not Gunner. It's Gunther, leaving him alone in the ring with Malcolm Bivens. Solo Sikoa comes down and attacks Gunther, making the save, but not actually doing it for Diamond Mine. But then later in the night, they get a spotlight again where we've got Ivy Nile and Tatum. It's Tatum Paxley, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Making their presence felt in the tag team Dusty Classic. Unfortunately, in a losing effort, but it really put in the spotlight Ivy in one-on-one situations with both Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter that are matches that I would love to see going forward. You have Tatum take the fall in that match, resulting in Ivy turning on Tatum post-match. Possibly some tough love, possibly something more, basically choking her out. And then as she's about to continue the beatdown, Roddy Strong stepping in, giving her a look, and moving on. It's a lot to go around, a lot of different pieces moving with Diamond Mine right now, but I really feel like they are a central part of the show. Astra, let's go to you. It's a lot. The Creed brothers, Ivy and Tatum, might as well give it all.
Yeah, that's true. No, overall I enjoyed that part. Malcolm's facial expressions as always on point. New meme alert for him, at least on Twitter already. But I love how Solo at the end told him, like, I didn't do it for you sort of situation. I did it for me. Even though I just saved your butt. But yeah, and then having, I don't know if you guys have seen the picture of like the height difference between Malcolm and Gunther. Like, it looks incredible from the outside like that. I loved it. And then having Ivy and Tatum. Was not expecting this tag team when the Dusty Cup was announced. It was nice to see somebody else or somebody with Ivy, because I was hoping she would be a part of it somehow. Yeah, I like the match though. Overall, I like the double team moves they did though, because I wasn't expecting them to have that kind of chemistry already, because it's the first time we see them on NXT together. But yeah, having her attack her after the match because of the loss, and Roddy kind of like being there behind her. It just like kind of like, oh, there's another girl in the group now. But I just want to see how it goes, like after, like now that they lost the Dusty Cup, how they go on moving forward with the two ladies.
Ed?
Yeah, all of the Diamond Mine stuff is entertaining. Malcolm Bivens is an absolute national treasure. It amazes me how much I want to see him and Gunther have these promo battles and just let them go at it, because God, he is so entertaining. Solo Sikoa stepping up to Gunther right away is fantastic, and I'm so excited for that match next week. That is going to be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait to see that match.
Which is a big turn of events since the last time we saw Solo Sikoa. Ed couldn't get him off his screen fast enough.
That's because he was with Boa.
Well, we have
It had everything to do with Boa and not to do with Solo Sikoa.
What about Ivy and Tatum, Ed?
That was really entertaining. I'm interested to see Tatum playing the lackey who gets beat up every night. You know, like Ivy's like, I'm going to be the one, and we're going to do all this winning stuff, and we're going to be great. And then, you know, Tatum just can't handle it or can't, do it. And Ivy's just going to be like, no. And she's going to beat her into becoming a better competitor. yes, Malcolm is an absolute mouthpiece manager, a phenomenal mouthpiece manager. But the Creeds are getting better on the mic on their own. They really are getting better on their own.
Yeah, everything about Diamond Mine has me intrigued and interested in where they're going. I like the idea of this Ivy and Tatum stuff. The way I could see it also going is Ivy being a dominant singles competitor, and then turning it around and showing kind of tough love and hard work in the gym, as Tatum just can't keep up with Ivy, and Ivy just keeps working and working and working and grinding her to the bone until she actually becomes something, and then maybe turns on Ivy for a face turn to actually become something better. There's lots of different routes for that to go too. I think I've seen a little bit of chat going around already of people thinking that this could be something where Tatum just ends up being a whipping slave to Ivy to make her a better wrestler until she becomes the tutor outdoes the mentor kind of thing. We're gonna, before we get into kind of the overall breakdown, I'd be remiss to not let us talk about the main event here. So briefly at the beginning of the show, we had Braun Breaker coming out talking about retaining his title, being the champion still. Dolph Ziggler comes out, interrupts, sets up a little bit between them, but ultimately the key to that segment, I think, was Dolph letting us know that Braun had been banned from ringside. Cut to the end of the show, we've got the main event, Tommaso Ciampa versus Dolph Ziggler. Excellent match, I thought. It was a fantastic display by both men. You've got Ziggler really playing the part of the veteran to, Ciampa being still the one that isn't as proven necessarily. It really felt like it was just experience versus inexperience is what they were trying to play there. I mean, for those of us who followed NXT, it's hard to see Ciampa playing an inexperienced role, but against somebody who's won world titles and multiple titles on the main roster, it makes a little sense in the storytelling there. Ultimately, end of the match, we get a cameraman coming out of nowhere with the camera smacking Ciampa across the face, resulting in Ziggler being able to hit the super kick for the pinfall. Not really a huge surprise when the cameraman takes the mask and the hat off to reveal that he is the other half of the Dirty Dogs, Mr. Glorious Robert Roode himself. We get Braun Breaker then, match is done. He's not banned from ringside anymore, brings himself out, helps Ciampa out, sets up next week, most likely a tag team match between these four competitors. And then instead of walking away like you would expect the heels Ziggler and Roode to do, they actually turn around and come back to the ring, and we go off the air with all four men brawling throughout the arena with security trying to pull them apart unsuccessfully. Cut down to you, Ed.
Yeah, this was a whole bunch of fun. This segment was great. The match is fantastic. I loved it. It was right about the 10 o'clock hour on the East Coast, and the crowd was chanting, "Fight forever." I'm like, "Fight forever," or 5 more minutes, whichever comes first, because they were hitting the end of that, the overrun. But to Sean's question here, Sean Cena poses the question, was there anyone who didn't think the cameraman was Robert Roode? Yes. For a split second there, I honestly thought it was Joaquin Wilde. I'll be honest. I thought it was Joaquin Wilde for a split second there. And I'm like, well, it makes sense. Santos was in there last week. Santos isn't going to do the dirty work. He's going to make one of the boys do it. So it made sense in my mind that, because I thought it was going to be Dolph and Santos versus Braun and Tommaso, keeping Santos in that picture. They bring in Robert Roode, which makes a whole lot of sense. Robert Roode being one of the guys who held that NXT championship, so it means a little bit more, for him to come back down and do it. It'll be fun to watch that tag match. It'll be great. Bob Roode being the guy who's faced Braun Breaker's uncle. He's the only one in any of these people that's faced Braun Breaker's uncle. So this will be interesting to see what happens and what might get said next week when Robert Roode gets on that mic.
As wild as this sounds and as little sense as it makes, there was a split second when Roode took the hat off before he pulled the mask down that I actually thought it was Grayson Waller. I have no idea what Grayson Waller would have a part to play in this right now, but I actually just hit the hairstyle reminded me of Grayson. I'm like, what? I mean, Sure, he likes to be everywhere and make all these social media views, but what part does he have to play in costing Tommaso Ciampa a match? Astrid, what did you think of it?
I missed some of the main event, but from what I saw, it was pretty fun. I liked it. But more than anything, having Ziggler open the show with Breaker, it reminds me why I miss Ziggler having that spotlight that he used to have, and having him as a singles competitor. And his selling, like I missed everything that I saw tonight from him. So it was nice to see him in that light. Yeah, I'm excited to see what probably the tag team match probably hopefully get next week. I mean, I don't think they announced that one, but I hope they do it for next week. But yeah, it was like at first I was thinking, who the heck is a cameraman? And then I thought, oh, I forgot that Ziggler has a partner. So yeah, so I was out of my guesses, but I didn't have a specific guess. But overall, I like having the ending like that, like keeping everybody like the action going as it goes out for the show. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next with them.
Very Monday Night Wars, WCW, WWE, you know, one of those things like, oh, and it's chaos, but we're out of time. See you next week.
Yeah.
Very much.
It's
Nitro used to love doing that.
It's a great way to end a wrestling program. I'm sorry. Like it's one of the few things I missed from the Monday Night Wars, because people talk about the Monday Night Wars as if like that was like wrestling at its best. And when you look back at it, it's hard to watch those shows in their entirety and be thoroughly entertained for the entire shows. There's so much going on during those shows, but those frenetic endings where you paid for every last cent and you made sure that you were doing something interesting right up until the moment the camera went off the air. It's something I miss, and I really enjoyed seeing it come back tonight.
Even early Ruthless Aggression era, I felt like Raw still did that a fair amount, Raw and SmackDown, because you'd always start hearing about the overrun match that they did just for the live crowd that wasn't televised, where you'd have somebody attacking somebody and go off the air in the middle of a brawl, and then you'd hear the next morning, oh yeah, they had a match after the show went off the air where so-and-so faced so-and-so in an actual match instead of just a brawl. It doesn't feel like you get as much of that. I know they still do a lot of the overrun matches sometimes, but you never have anything before the cutoff to really lead up to it. It's just like, oh yeah, this match happened. Mm-hmm. But for NXT, I don't know if they really do overrun matches, so it would have been fun to be part of that live crowd tonight and see like how this dispersed once the cameras stopped rolling. And as a fan watching from home, it leaves you excited for what you're going to see next week, because especially with something like NXT, they do like to do a lot of those recaps and, you know, what happened. That are we going to start next week's show with this is what happened once we went off the air? Did somebody get arrested? Did somebody go through a table? Did like somebody get clocked with a chair? Did they actually have to like pull them apart and like take them out different exits? Anything like that could make for an exciting kickoff to next show and really build to a main event between those four competitors. If they get the main event, we get a North American title match next week. Does the A champ get to headline over those four?
No. If only we had somebody in Florida who could, you know, go to these NXT shows every now and then and tell us what happens after the cameras stop rolling. I mean, if only. If only that person could go to the shows and then still make it on camera in time to talk to us about them. I'm sure there are these things called camera phones that this person could sit in the car as somebody else drives them home, and they could go ahead and do the show. Like I've done some blowing off streams from my cell phone. Like it works. It's not fun, but it works. You know, just saying, if there's anybody in the Florida area that, you know, might be able to hit the PC.
The PC, the CWC, or whatever we're calling it nowadays.
Well, the other C's.
Not Full Sail. No more Full Sail. Although I think Full Sail's where the Andre Chase thing was filmed.
Probably, but
doesn't surprise me.
UCF.
We'll get to that. Let's jump back to the beginning, shall we?
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to our wonderful friend and sponsor from RK Athletics, Mr. Rich King himself. Follow him on all social medias at RK Athletics 1. Rich King is an active wrestler in the local Edmonton wrestling scene. He is also a fitness guru, offering professional personal training advice, both in person in the Edmonton area as well as in the Twitter world and the social media world for online advice and tips and tricks and training regimens. Give him a follow. Reach out to him if you're looking at getting yourself into summer body shape. We're getting to that point. Everybody's going to want to be getting into bathing suits and out into the summer sun. Rich King can give you whatever you need to get you beach and summer ready.
Don't forget, he's also the guest this Friday on Smart and Friends.
He is. That is a great point. Our friend, Mr. Zach Ralph, is going to be having a wonderful discussion with Rich King about all the different things that he's involved in. So follow us here at Love Wrestling to be sure you don't miss that one.
And also, why we're thanking people and doing all kinds of fun stuff like that, you know what we need to do? We need to promote our What a Maneuver store at whatamaneuver.net/collection/love-wrestling-ca. And you know what you can find if you go there? You can find this wonderful shirt right here. The Natural, Ashton Pizarro. You can find some Love Wrestling products, and they're fantastic. You can find some Between Two Beers products, and they're less fantastic. You can find all kinds of wonderful stuff, but this is what you need. If you're a fan of NXT, you need to be a fan of The Natural and go ahead and pick up a shirt. You can get it in blue, gray, white, the classic black, even red.
Or
So
hoodie.
again, and a hoodie. But you know what to do that? You got to go to whatamaneuver.net/collections/love-wrestling-ca. And remember, if you are going to pick up any of the Love Wrestling products, and all of them are fantastic. I kid. But remember that if you get the Love Wrestling Pride shirt, all of the proceeds from that shirt will go to the Trevor Project. So if you want to go ahead and do that and support a worthy cause, the Trevor Project people are fantastic. Astrid right there is wearing the regular Love Wrestling shirt. You can go ahead and go to this site right here and go ahead and get it.
That is a great remembrance. I need to get on there and get me a Natural shirt. I haven't been able to as of yet, but I will.
Me neither.
They don't make my size.
You don't need the shirt. You're already the Natural. Put it on your business cards. I told you this earlier.
Yes, I agree.
Back to the start of the night. We've already talked about the Braun Breaker segment. Let's get into the opening match. Grayson Waller versus LA Knight. I thought this was a really solid match display between both of them. These guys have been going for well over 4 months on this feud so far. It started with them fighting over who was the host of the Halloween Havoc. And it's just been back and forth through War Games, through New Year's Evil, through Grayson Waller now getting himself a personal heater. We had restraining orders. We had cops last week. We've had Knight fighting his way through Sanga to get to Waller. This match, it felt to start like it would have been a blow-off match. Ultimately, we have Knight, though, going for the BFT. Looks like he's ready to finish it. Grayson gets his arm over the top rope. Sanga holds his arm so that he doesn't go down for the move. And then he finishes off and gets the upset. I believe it was with a roll-up, right?
Yeah,
but LA Knight gets up completely furious, attacks and takes out both Sanga and Waller after the match. And as he's walking out, just makes a quick comment about himself being the last man standing. Nothing was confirmed 100%, I don't think, but I feel like we're all in agreement that this is where we're heading, that these two are going to end up in a last man standing match in the foreseeable future here. Astrid, let's go to you first.
Okay.
I was just going to say, there was one quick point. LA Knight did a promo later on in the night where he does mention the words being the last man standing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did. Astrid, what did you think of the match?
Yeah, I like the match. I just knew it was some kind of introduction to what was gonna happen eventually to be that big blow off between them. So I figured it was not gonna go all the way as I wanted it to be. So I knew it was gonna be an intro more than anything. But yeah, when he said last man standing, I said in the group chat, I said stand and deliver, last man standing. Is that what we're getting next? I hope that they wait until that and then stand and deliver at least to do the last man standing, not do it just like a regular NXT show. But yeah, overall I like the match and I like how involved it was or how it ended, and Knight's promo at the end. So I'm excited to get the last man standing between them.
Feels like
Yeah.
we got a ways to go to get there. It's still 5 weeks to stand and deliver, so it's got to be a long build to end up at this last man standing. Possibly Waller ducking and dodging, saying, "I already beat you. I don't need to beat you again." Something like that.
I think
Sorry,
LA
go ahead.
Knights. I was gonna say, I think LA Knight's gonna have to beat Senga on the route to get to this match. I think we're gonna have to have that match again. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the last man standing match. I would have really liked this feud to end here and give LA Knight something else to do going into stand and deliver. But I mean, I can see why they want to push this. It's gonna be really packed, so I'm really curious what shows make it and what matches. Sorry, not what shows. What matches make it, and what matches are going to end up on the card before the week before, the week after, to kind of fill it out, because they're building to a whole lot of stuff, but not everything's going to make that card, because that card is probably going to be that 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 match card for stand and deliver. God, I hope on a WrestleMania day they really can't go more than 7 matches.
No, and NXT I don't think has ever really went for a show with more than 5 even. That would be a whole new world if NXT is going for that. Not to mention the fact that it's an afternoon show before the WrestleMania day 1. I would be blown away if they have more than 5 matches on that show, and they've got 5 titles in NXT now. So I feel you've got to have the top 2 men's and women's on there, and probably at least one of the tag team titles. And I don't know how you would leave the North American title off if your champion is promoting himself as the A champion.
Yeah, I was going to say the A champion can be without a match.
That only leaves you with room for potentially 1 match if you're still sticking to that 5 match card that is going to be for a non-title. So it could end up that we see Knight and Waller in something either the week before or the week after. I think the week after show usually ends up being pre-taped on the night of the takeover show, so maybe they have 1 or 2 matches that they pre-tape, but be interesting to see how they're doing it, if it's going to be ultimately on the afternoon of, like, if we're going to have an entire day of wrestling, how much time are they going to expect people to be sitting in arenas watching a takeover show, watching day 1 of Mania, and then still expecting them to come back for day 2 of Mania? I think
it's better. Yeah,
wrestling out.
It's better than that. You've got to get the crowd into the arena for stand and deliver. Do the stand and deliver show. Get the crowd out of the building, clean the building, and then get the crowd in for Mania that night.
I work in the arena industry. I've seen it done more than enough times between rodeos and circuses. Arena crews are very, very skilled at how they prepare and plan for those things. Promoters have to be ready for it. It's actually quite the thing to behold, watching the janitorial and the guest service staff go through and get those buildings ready between shows. So quick shout out to them for being excellent, because I'm a part of them.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's going to be a production to get the shows in, because if stand and deliver starts at noon, you got to say the show's going to end around 3. The Mania crowd's going to start going in at 4:30, 5 o'clock at the latest for a 7 o'clock pre-show start time. Like, that's a big stadium to clean in 2 hours.
Yep. And I've been there for Mania a lot. When I was there for the women's main event, it ended up past midnight, and I saw people leaving like way before the main event even started. So
when Sasha and Charlotte did their main event for Hell in the Cell, for the first women's Hell in the Cell, the match started around 11 o'clock, and we were already contemplating, do we have to leave now before the match starts? Because of the fact that the last trains out of Boston, they don't do trains after midnight, even when there's a show in the arena, because the train station that's in is literally in the same building as the arena. It's chaos.
No, it's going to be a wild weekend. I feel like the last time that we had the 2-show WrestleMania, people were already burnt out by the end of it, just from all the wrestling that weekend. But you're going to have Friday Night SmackDown and the Hall of Fame on Friday. You're going to have Stand and Deliver and Night 1 on Saturday, and then Night 2 on Sunday. It'll be hard to imagine that the fans on Night 2 are going to have anything left by the time you hit main event of Night 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be a wild weekend for anyone that's watching all of that wrestling. But I digress.
And speaking of wild, I want to bring up something that I saw today, and it's wild. Corey Graves and Carmella have a new show coming up. You've heard about this, Cody, right? This
I mean,
Carmella Corey Graves show that's coming
I
to
have
YouTube.
heard about it, but I would prefer you not call me Corey.
Come on, Corey. Come on,
Only
Corey.
if it means
Defoe.
I get to be part of the show with Carmella, okay?
But no, I was watching the promo that they did for the show, and I'm like, you know what Corey needs? You know, I'm sure he has somebody who pays to do this, but Corey needs Manscaped, because Manscaped is the best in below the waist men's grooming champions of the world. And right now, this podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. They just launched the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. 20% off and free worldwide shipping when you use the code LOVEWRESTLING at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com has all kinds of wonderful products. They got great things for below the waist, including, like we said, the Lawnmower 4.0. They have the Crop Reviver and the Crop Preserver. They've got wipes, but they've also got other things. Like they have the
shirts,
the shirts. They have the boxer briefs. They have the ears and nose hair trimmer. All kinds of fantastic stuff. They've got everything you need to be the man that you need to be to make the woman in your life proud to be around you. And like I said, you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code LOVEWRESTLING at manscaped.com. 20% off with Love Wrestling at manscaped.com. MANSCAPED. Remember, your balls will thank you.
Moving on, after that wonderful ad from Mr. Ed Fries, supporting our wonderful sponsors over at Manscaped. Following that match with Grayson and LA Knight, we had a backstage segment of Dakota wandering around looking for Wendy, and she finds her sleeping. Questions her on why she didn't talk to her before signing them into the Dusty Cup, to which Wendy replies, "Oh, I told your friend," referring to the imaginary friend that Dakota has been speaking to for the past few weeks. Dakota acts very confused, says she has bad luck with tag team partners, and Wendy just says, "Well, you haven't tagged with me," and then walks away, and Dakota starts talking to her imaginary friend some more as we fade away. And then just before our first commercial interruption of the night, we get to see Toxic Attraction making their way out, and we are told that they are going to be watching the Round 1 Dusty Cup from the Toxic Lounge. Before we get past that, before we get into it, we'll give one more. There was a segment after the commercial when we came back of Cora Jade this week turning it around on Raquel, where Raquel had her in the gym working out, pushing her last week. Cora takes Raquel to an aerial park and gets her up in the obstacle course, climbing and doing a bunch of different stuff with heights and climbing, I guess is the best way to put it. Basically taking her into her world and making Raquel face her fears. All of this leading into the Dusty Cup action. We'll talk about that first, guys. Ed, what did you think of the Dakota Wendy stuff and the Cora Raquel stuff?
I thought the Astrid Dakota stuff was great. I mean, the Wendy Dakota stuff was fantastic. These two are such a great pair. Like I said, I could have seen Dakota doing this whole tournament solo and having it be hysterical, like her talking to her own tag team partner, which is just a figment of her imagination. But I think Wendy's a nice fill-in to that same level of like, she's just going to sleep through the matches for the most part. It'll be fun. I think that the Raquel and Cora stuff is all right. I was more of a fan of last week's than I was of this week. I don't like the idea of making the big tall person be afraid of heights, being a big tall person who's afraid of heights. You can tell a lot of self-loathing I have with things on NXT television that I don't like because I see a lot of myself in some of this stuff. So, but that being said, this was fun. This was fine. It's light years ahead of the stuff that they were doing with Io and I've blocked it out.
Zoe.
That's the one, Zoe.
Still enjoyed that. Still disagree with you.
No, never. Mm-mm.
But no, Astrid, what about you?
No, well, one of my favorite things, like I couldn't be sleeping because I've been saving the world. Ed, okay, don't forget about that.
I forgot.
Okay. No, my favorite thing was like seeing Dakota when she goes, she chose us, she chose me. And I was like, okay, tell me who's us though. Like, tell me already. But no, I love that part between them. It was so funny. And yeah, toxic attraction backstage. I was like, I was waiting for Ed's reaction the whole time while it was happening. Sorry. But yeah, the training, I felt like it was a lot better last week, but yeah, it was a lot better than having Io and Zoe interacted with they did at the restaurant. So I would take Cora, Jade, and Raquel any day at this point. Sorry, not sorry.
And you know what, Astrid? The reason why I forgot that you were saving the world and not taking a nap like Wendy Chu is because we weren't on Sci-Fi this week, so I didn't see the commercial 17 times in the 2 hours that they have the NXT program on.
You weren't on Sci-Fi this week?
No, we were not on Sci-Fi this week. I was on USA.
Vic and Wade specifically mentioned, I thought, or maybe that was because I was watching last week's episode today. I remember them mentioning something about being commercial-free on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, that was last week's episode.
Okay. That's what I get for watching 4 hours of NXT in one night. The one thing that I'm going to throw out, I have a hot take on who Dakota's talking to. It's the ghost of the fired Tegan Knox.
Ouch. That's interesting, though. I like it.
I mean,
she mentioned her tonight. She's like, it hasn't gone well the last 2 times, and I'm like, all right, Raquel, Tegan, all right.
So we get into the actual match. We have Toxic Attraction being apparently the attraction that's more important than the match itself, as they kept cutting and showing them sitting up in their toxic lounge as Wade Barrett drooling over them. I don't think it was during this match that Vic called him a simp, but basically it was the same between both matches. We got KLR and Io Shirai versus Lash Legend and Amari Miller. This match felt like the most squashiest of squash matches of the night to me. I wanted to see Lash, see what Lash was capable of. I wanted to see a little bit more Amari because she's looked good in her limited appearances so far. Lash had a little bit of power early, but Io turned it around. Amari came in, and I felt like the most offense they had the entire match was Amari dodging Io's Io dodging Amari's first move, and Amari just kicks her foot out while she's bridged backwards. And then Io basically stood right back up, took over, tagged in KLR, had a lot of moves, but it all felt like Amari and Lash were taking the damage, and then KLR bomb and Io moonsaults for the quick and easy win. Astrid or Ed, we'll go to you first this time. Did you see anything else out of this match?
It was quick. It was simple. It did what it needed to do. I would have really liked to have seen Casey Squared paired up with Amari in Lash Legend and given a little bit more of Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley, paired up with KLR and Io. I think that would have been a more believable matchup for that one, and it would have been able to have a little bit more back and forth. But, this match was here to do something, and it did it. They couldn't just have a bye. They needed to face somebody, so insert team that's going to get jobbed out.
I mean, it was notable, though, that Io and KLR came out in matching gear, which is something Io never did with Zoe.
She likes KLR. They get along. I remember that from the package last week.
Just gonna throw it out because I wasn't really on the show last week, and it wasn't something that really came to mind until I got through the last week's show today. That I've been talking, and I mentioned to both of you that I think we could be seeing Zoe end up in this tournament, costing Io and KLR because she is jealous that Io likes KLR quicker and more.
And as Mike says, I don't want to be that guy, but seeing Io Shirai in this match makes me sad. I haven't seen Io Shirai involved in this much garbage. She literally performed a move inside of a garbage can. I mean, he's not wrong. This is obviously just a way to get to Io Shirai facing Mandy at some point. They're just biding their time. They have to do something with them, so they're going to do this for now. But it's what we're stuck with. And like you said, at least it's not Zoe. At least it's Kaylee Ray. Kaylee Ray on television.
we're still getting Io Shirai on television. Ultimately, whatever she's involved in, we're still getting Io Shirai on television. I have my own preference on where I would rather see Io Shirai, and it's with a friend and former tag partner of hers who's just debuted somewhere else. But I think we're heading now after this and the KC Squared match. I'm pretty sure they're on the same side of the bracket. That's where we're heading now from tonight, right?
Yeah, it's going to be KC Squared versus Io and KLR.
Mhm.
Yeah, which will be a very fun match, I think. Kaden Carter has shown that she is very capable, and Casey Catanzaro has evolved in leaps and bounds in the last couple months.
Sean Cena does ask, do we all think that Io and KLR versus Cora and Raquel is the finals? I don't, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think that's the finals. I don't think Io and KLR make it through this next round. I think, as Cody says, I think they get screwed by somebody, whether it be by Zoe Stark, who posted a nice thing talking about how she's getting further along in her recap. I also don't think Cora and Raquel get to the finals, to be perfectly honest with you. I can see this being Indian Persia versus KC Squared.
I disagree. I think we are getting Cora and Raquel. I don't even think Indy and Persia get out of the first round. I think
Well, not after tonight's. I'll rephrase that. My things were all things that I thought going into tonight. After tonight, I have no idea what the hell's going to happen. Because speaking of dumpster fires, that was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think we're heading that the 4 to get out of the first round are going to be the 4 that have got the most attention as far as the Dusty Cup goes. Indy and Persia just lost their chance at the tag titles. They're having some friction now that we'll get into here shortly. I think we've had Io and KLR had their setup to become a team. KC Squared have kind of been one of the key teams for quite some time. Cora and Raquel had their big story become a team. And we've got Dakota and Wendy have had, a lot of backstage segments setting up them as this team now. Whereas Lash and Amari had no time. Ivy and Tatum had no time. Mm-hmm. Indy and Persia have had their shot. It just feels like the 4 moving on have to be the 4 that have got time.
Makes sense. I can see that.
Before we jump past this match, just want to give you a chance, Astrid. Was there anything else you saw in this match with Lash and Amari?
I think I mentioned it to you guys in the chat when Io's doing her like 619. You can see how Lash was not hanging on the ropes properly, and she was like more hanging out like in the inside of the ring, kind of to help her bounce back when she has to. So little things like that kind of bothered me when I saw it. But it just like you can tell this was just one of those things like, let's put 2 and 2 together because you guys are left together and you guys are some of the ladies that we don't have in the cup, so make a team and you get squashed because you're not gonna go any further than that. So I already knew that we were gonna lose and it wasn't gonna be like a big showcase for either one of them. So I wasn't expecting much for either one. But I knew that they were gonna show a little bit more from Amari because she's been wrestling more than Lash has been. But yeah, this is just exactly how I expected it to go.
Yeah.
And before we move on, we just got one more thing from Mike. Sorry if I missed the discussion or I'm jumping ahead. But Stand and Deliver is looking like potentially the best premium live event from NXT 2.0. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. From all the feuds that they're building, that show the week before, the week after, and that show are going to be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did talk about it not in depth necessarily, but we've definitely talked about it at length now, what that weekend's going to be. It'll be 6 months, I think, at that point, maybe almost approaching 7 since the debut of 2.0. They've had a lot of time to really establish these characters and figure out their direction of 2.0, that it'll almost feel like the culmination of 2.0 officially overtaking the black and yellow. After that tag match in the Dusty Cup, we had a brief little segment of Dante Chen setting up for the match with Duke Hudson coming up after the break. Before we get to that match, I'm going to sidetrack us and divert us here because I'm just going to cover all of this in one swooping glance. Throughout the night, starting right here, we had a conglomerate of segments of Briggs and Jensen backstage, with Brooks Jensen trying to figure out how he's going to win over Caden Carter. And Josh Briggs tells him that he needs to set up a dating profile, but to do that, they need to record a video of him introducing himself. This first segment starts out with him not even knowing his own name, introduces himself as Briggs, and wait, no, I'm not Briggs, you are, and then like Borks Jensen or something like that. I don't know. Later in the night, we got the second segment of him giving out dating lines, pickup lines, before getting tongue-tied in a bit about I like girls, but I also like guys, but not like that. But it's okay if you like guys like that. I'm not saying it's not. And then the third segment, we get Fallon, the bartender from last week's segment, coming and finding them mid-recording of these videos and being like, "Why? What are you doing? All you need to do is just take a picture. Here, I'll take a picture and set up your profile." To which Briggs says, let me be honest, dude. Your dating debacle is my highlight of entertainment in my life, and I take joy in it. And it was a running thread throughout the night. It was comical at best. It was cringe at worst. I know we're all on different pages as far as how this goes overall. Ed, I know you have the strongest feelings, so you can go first here.
I feel personally attacked when I watch these segments, I'll be honest. I feel like NXT, I feel like I'm writing these segments from the horrors of my like frightened and broken dreams. They're entertaining. The idea of him being like, you know, with the worst pickup lines, my favorite being, "Are you from a cornfield? Because I'm stalking you." I'm like, oh my God. And by the way, in between PowerrrOut and NXT, we will have a very special, hopefully very quick video next week on this sort of kind of subject. And God, I hope it's entertaining.
I hope it's entertaining too. Astrid, what do you think of Brooks Jensen's dating profile?
Oh gosh, it made me laugh. Plus, your reactions made me laugh, so I couldn't help it. I was crying watching this. But yeah, I just like I can relate to it a little bit too because I'm shy and awkward. So just like I could see myself doing something like this and just being like somebody, like having my coworker laugh at me because that's what happens on a daily basis. So I could see myself like this. So it's totally relatable at this point. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're doing a really good job making him feel kind of like that everyman, and especially the wrestling fan who's just extremely awkward around women and has no idea what he's doing. I find it enjoyable. I hope this actually leads to something of substance for them as a tag team, and or whatever they're doing with KC Squared here and Caden Carter. But at least it's giving them something that they're still on TV and they're staying relevant, even though they didn't make it far in the Dusty Cup and they haven't been wrestling as much. I always appreciate that they keep these people in mind, so when they do put them back in the ring and on TV in matches, we haven't forgot who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I have one thing about this though. Is the word friend zone actually like trademarked or something? Because WWE refuses to say it like that. They just call it the zone. Briggs will constantly refer to it as the zone.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, is it trademark? Is there something that they can't do with it, with that specific word set?
I haven't looked into it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Because last week, too, when Alan first mentioned it, she said, "You're in the zone."
Yeah. But like they say OnlyFans today, shouldn't that be sort of
Oh my God. Oh my fuck. Wade Barrett. Oh my God. I can't handle Wade Barrett anymore.
If you said OnlyFans, I think you can say friendzone at this point.
Yeah. That, to be clear, that was during the Ivy Nile KC Squared match that Wade was well, we talked about it, right? Like we talked about the Diamond Mine stuff, but just going back to that, Wade was simping over the Toxic Attraction throughout that match and talked about he also, I think he was mentioning, because that match came up after the last of these dating profile segments, and Vic asked him what you would do if you were trying to attract a woman. He said, buy them gifts, like their posts on Instagram and such, and follow their OnlyFans. on national TV.
Yep.
Wade Barrett talks about following someone's OnlyFans. So
to which Vic Joseph then says the line, "That's great simping behavior from you, Wade." And I'm like, nope, done, lost it. Okay, cool.
To be clear,
these two
I'm sorry, Spencer, don't take us off the air. We're not promoting this OnlyFans product. I haven't watched. Please don't watch. Don't go there.
like, you know what? These two are the most entertaining pair of announced teams, I think, on any wrestling program.
Currently, yes.
Currently, like
Since-
no, in the past there have been really good ones. Like
they are,
right,
they are the most entertaining pair on NXT since Corey Graves first started announcing on NXT, and I think he was with Tom Phillips at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
and Morrow and Nigel had a really good, funny chemistry with each other as well.
They were okay, yeah. But Tom and Corey, I think, was my favorite pair. There have been some decent trios, including Wade, Vic, and Beth most recently. But yeah, Wade and Vic are they're amazing to listen to. It's like they almost aren't even censored. It makes me question if there is anybody in their ear.
Mike, no thanks.
Don't look it up. I don't know what it is, but I highly recommend not looking it up. Moving ahead, speaking of things that we, forgot about, Dante Chen and Duke Hudson had a match. Moving on.
Oh my god.
I mean, it happened. Chen had some offense early. I didn't hate it. It felt quick to me, considering it started out in a way that made me think it should have been a feud. But I think it was really just a means. Like, Chen debuted, we're meant to care about him, and then Duke comes in and beats him so that it feels like a substantial win for Duke to get him rolling on the right track again. Not opposed to it. They haven't really done a ton of character building with Dante Chen yet. I feel like he's still got places to go, but this just felt like a step for Duke to get him back on the winning track.
Speaking of Duke, wow.
Should we just go there next, or
might as well? Wasn't it the next segment?
No, it was a little later in the night.
Oh wow. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
I
honestly thought it was the next segment.
No, it was after quite a bit here, actually. But
you can tell who didn't take notes tonight.
Backstage, Duke is in the locker room. Persia comes up to congratulate him on his win, says she didn't miss a minute of the action, which, I mean, I felt like the action only lasted a minute, but sure. To which Duke just basically grabs her and plants a kiss on her, which felt really cringe because they haven't even gone out and he's just pulling her in and like forcing a kiss on her. And then as they're making out, Indy walks in and basically goes, "Ew, gross." And Persia's like, I need to go, and runs away. And Duke comments to Indy saying something about, what do you mean gross? You used to like it. And then he made another comment, which I didn't take down, but was important. Ed, what was it?
He said, she says, yeah, but that was a long time ago. And he goes, yeah, but you can't, it can be again.
Yeah. And then we pan to the left where Dexter is just standing there silent, and he hangs his head and then walks away, and Indy goes chasing after him. I hated it. I hated the whole thing. It felt really awkward between Duke forcing himself on Persia and then being really toxic towards Indy, and then Dexter acting as though he thinks his wife is cheating on him because some guy is coming on to her. It felt wrong. It felt inappropriate. It felt no. Astrid. Let's give you the stage because you love Index.
Yeah, my Index card was not happy after this. No, I'll do that. There, I'm done. I can't. Yeah, my Index card couldn't take this segment, to be honest. Nope.
The one thing I will say in Duke Hudson's favor, and it's brief, but Persia has spent the last 3 or 4 weeks coming on to Duke Hudson. Like, I understand it was a bit much tonight. Like, it was all in on tonight. But, like, it's not like it was out of the blue where she's there like, hey, I think you're really cute and things like that. And he's like, mine. Mwah. No, like, she's spent weeks texting him and flirting with him and hitting on him. Like, there's at least segments leading into this that make it slightly more than forcing himself. Mm-hmm. She also didn't seem too enthusiastically to leave. Like, she seemed like she was really enjoying herself until Indy decided to interrupt her fun. Wade Barrett seemed really into it, which again is,
from my perspective, it felt like he was taking advantage of the situation, because the whole time she's been coming on to him, he's been deflecting, and basically we had the segment a couple weeks ago where he wished Indy luck instead of her, and then like had the picture of him and Indy together at the ballpark, and it feels like very toxic masculinity, like that is Duke Hudson right now, and I don't appreciate that being promoted right now in the world that we're in. Call me whatever you want to call me. That's just how I feel about this segment.
Hopefully this means that Duke's going to be getting his ass kicked in this, and that we see Dexter win this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at least that would be
the Duke win over Dante,
better,
setting him up for another loss. You know, we get a Dante win to set him up to be an important loss to Duke, and then Duke getting that win to make him an important loss to make Dexter relevant again. I would be okay with that.
But Dexter always loses.
But I mean, if it's for Indy and something like this, like this is all going to end. Like, we know this is ending in a tag match on Stand and Deliver ish time. Like, right? Like, we know that's where this is headed. This is headed to the mixed tag between Indy and Dexter versus Duke and Persia.
Yeah. And then what? Indy turns on Dexter to actually be with Duke and betrays Persia and just like mess. And then what? Persia ends up. We have Perdex.
I don't need that kind of negativity in here. No.
I mean, if it were main roster, yes, that's exactly what would happen. and I know they're involved in writing it, so I won't say no. I'll hope and pray that's not where this is headed. But I can't guarantee it.
So, moving on to better news, the only thing that actually happened between the match and that segment, I mean, we talked about most of it. There was the Trick Mello and the Trick and Grime stuff. There was part of the Briggs and Jensen dating profile, and there was the Nikita Lyons debut, her promo leading into her match. And the only other thing we hadn't talked about from that yet, which I guess we did briefly mention happened, was the Chase U segment. And Andre Chase, I didn't take enough notes on this, so hopefully one of you kind of got a little bit more word for word on what Andre Chase said. The gist of it was him in front of the classroom talking about his match with Von Wagner, which I believe is probably happening next week. I think we actually got confirmation of that later in the night.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did either one of you have actual like notes of anything he said in particular that stood out?
He said testicular fortitude a lot. Again, edgy NXT. It is what it is, but like, no, it was all about, you know, he called out Von Wagner after Von Wagner attacked him from behind. You know, he made the call out, and Von Wagner's nowhere to be found for weeks on end because he has no testicular fortitude. To which one of his students asks him, well, how much testicular fortitude are you going to have when you get into the ring with Von Wagner? And he starts kicking your butt, and Chase goes, no, he's going to get a Chase U ass whooping. And Bodie's all excited, and then he kicks Mike, I think was the student's name, out, and he throws his book bag across the tiny, tiny room. The best thing is I saw it from Joel Pearl. Ashton pointed it out to us in the Slack chat, that the new Chase U logo that's written on there, that's done by Dexter Loomis.
Perfect. So apparently we've actually covered pretty much the whole show at this point. The only thing we haven't talked about was the brief little interview that happened between Gacy and Harland. That we had, I think it was Mackenzie Mitchell with Joe Gacy and Harland talking about something that happened either earlier today or over the weekend. I forget which it was. Where
Over the
they
weekend.
confronted Draco Anthony in the gym while Draco was working out.
At 2:30 in the morning.
With no sound. It was all just surveillance footage of them silently. Gacy apparently said something to upset Draco. Draco jumps up off the bench, gets in Gacy's face, to which Harland steps in and has now set up that Draco Anthony and Harland will face off next week. I know we're all on the same page that we think this is probably ending up on Draco being like joining with them. And Gacy did say in the interview that once Harland beats Draco next week, he'll realize that it's better to be with friends than to be alone. I'm interested in the story. I feel like it has some potential to grow. I like Gacy growing his little entourage of outcasts here. I've been a Joe Gacy fan from the start, other than that first week where we questioned on where it was going. Once we realized that they were leaning all in on it and played us for fools after that first week, making us think that they were pulling it, I feel like Joe Gacy has a ton of potential to grow and be someone really important in the scene here. Ed.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. One of my favorite things on any NXT broadcast is when we get to have Joe Gacy on there. He's got an ability to just draw you in with whatever crazy and wacky. Like, I don't like anything he's saying. I don't want to believe anything he's saying, but I like the fact that he believes it and he has Harlan believing it, because Harlan's naive and just wants to, hurt people, and Gacy's the ability to let him do that. And I like that if they can bring in somebody like Draco Anthony, you have this group in a very different way, and you have the big, huge heater in Harlan. You've got Joe Gacy, who's a talented, bigger dude, and then you've got Draco Anthony, who's a smaller guy who needs a rub from a guy like Gacy, who's been Evolve Tag Team Champions and been around the world on the indies and has all this experience in the world, who can have matches and have Draco watch right there from ringside and really get better by watching. The same reason they did with Almas, the same thing they're doing with Sangha, just having people watch better competitors from a close up.
Same thing with Diamond Mine too, with the Creed brothers and Ivy watching what Roddy's been doing.
Yeah.
Astrid, what about you with Joe Gacy and Harlan?
Yeah, I haven't been a fan of the Gacy Harlan stuff, to be honest. The part with Drake was kind of making me a little bit more interested in it, so that's why it's kind of like those wait and see things for me. I want to wait and see what happens and how they involve him later on. But yeah, just like it's been okay for me when it comes to that. I don't know if you mentioned it, but I think the only part that we were talking about too was like the Robert Stone and Vaughn responding to.
Right, I did miss making that note.
Yeah, how he said you have to F for street smarts, and you're gonna be filing for like disability after you face Von Wagner. So.
Yeah, that we did get the retort from Robert Stone and Von Wagner to JCU's segment, basically confirming that they're on the same track here, that they didn't forget about it, even though they didn't mention it last week.
Or the week before, or the week before.
I think it's only been 2 weeks missed. I think it was 3 weeks ago that they actually set it up initially.
Mm-hmm.
But then after all of these segments here, I mean, there was the solo promo, just talking about where he's approached by Bivens, thanking him for saving him, and Solo says he didn't do it for Malcolm, he did it for himself. And then we get kind of the main event segments, the LA Knight promo fit in there, and then the promos for next week where we confirmed Solo versus Gunther. We've got Pete Dunne versus Mello for the championship. Mid-main event match, they had the little on-screen graphic confirming Von Wagner versus Andre Chase. And then they had the post-match where Braun Breaker challenged the Dirty Dogs to the tag team match. So that's 4 pretty solid-looking matches on the card for next... Excuse me, got the hiccups all of a sudden. For next week now. Anything we're looking forward to specifically? Anything else we feel is coming for next week based on what happened this week?
Yeah, I'm guessing more so with the Women's Dusty Cup, because we had 3 ladies matches tonight, which is amazing to watch. So I'm guessing at least one of them has to happen next week, because we had 2 of them tonight.
Well, yeah, the other two round one probably will happen next week for sure. I hadn't even thought of that, but we will probably have the Cora and Raquel versus...
Yeah, I think they said next week, during their segment.
Cora and Raquel versus...
Leon and Feroz.
Right, that's their names. And then the Wendy and Dakota versus Indian Persia match will happen as well. So right there, we're looking 6 matches that likely happening next week.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a fun show next week. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to be here.
We will. I'm here for a few weeks now until I'm back on a night shift for Tuesday again.
Well, at least then it delivers on a Saturday.
Yeah. And I think next week officially is when we have the big news of what's happening with Love Wrestling as a whole. It will be our first night that we are exclusively Twitch live. Anyone watching currently on YouTube, on Facebook, we apologize if this is an inconvenience to you. Just for more streamlined content production, all of our live content will now be available, twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. If you're watching after the fact, things will still be uploaded on YouTube for post-show viewing. But if you want to catch the shows as we produce them live, definitely make sure to follow us on Twitch so that you can get all of the Love Wrestling content on whatever nights it's produced. Ed, anything else you need to throw out there for tonight?
No, I was just going to say, since we're talking about big things from Love Wrestling, that this Thursday, I believe it is, we have Quizplex. We have the Green Phantom, Thaddeus Archer III, and PCO on Quizplex. And this is going to be a whole bunch of fun.
The French-Canadian Frankenstein making an appearance on Quizplex. How is he managing that when Impact's on Thursday night?
I don't know. I'm going to have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, tons of great content coming up from Love Wrestling. If you've missed the announcement on the social medias, we also have LPW 2, Don't Want to Grow Up, taking place March 25th here in Edmonton at the South Edmonton Common Rec Room. A couple great matches already announced for that show. Make sure you're following Love Wrestling on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Love Wrestling CA on most of the social media platforms for all of the upcoming match announcements for that. It's going to be a great show. I was at the first one live. I am most likely going to be at the second one live. Some great talents here in the Canadian industry Canadian wrestling scene and industry that are going to be coming here for that show. If you're in the Edmonton area, highly advise getting on that to buy your tickets to that show. If not, I'm sure there will be announcements coming in the future on how you may be able to watch that show on the internet, whether it be live or after the fact, as it was with the first show. Nothing confirmed there as of yet, as far as I am aware, but definitely follow.
March 25th.
It is. We have confirmed it. Apparently, I am out of the loop here. Don't trust me. Trust the natural because she knows it all. Astrid, give us what you got going on.
Or I guess some kind of breaking news in a sense. We're doing the AEW show tomorrow, so we're calling it the Elite Sidecast. So we're watching along to AEW tomorrow from 8 to 10. So yeah, it'll be fun. I guess I'll be a Zach called me the Forbidden Door, talking about NXT and AEW now. So I'm excited for that. Next week here for NXTea with Cody and Ed as usual. And if not, I'll be on my Twitter, which is Astrid Pizarro, which I'm there whenever I'm not here. So
you can go ahead and find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me here, as you said, with Cody and Astrid doing NXT. You can find me moderating Tom Collihue's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Tom Collihu. All the fun stuff coming up soon in the month of March. I will be live streaming GM mode for WWE 2K22. 2K22. We've had some technical difficulties finding out that there is no online multiplayer mode for GM mode like they promised us. So either way, I will be doing it on my own personal Twitch channel, and I will give those details as we get closer to the date.
You can follow me on the Twitter at Cody Defoe. I basically here Tuesday nights NXT. I do have the next episode of the Friend and Foe show in the works. Unfortunately, personal life has been hanging me up for the last couple weeks, along with having COVID. So just trying to get everything back in order to set up for that second interview to take place. Wonderful guest in the Edmonton wrestling scene here will be joining me for an awesome conversation. Keep an eye on that. If you want to follow that, it is at Friend N Show, not N Show on all at Friend N Foe Show on all the social medias, the Twitch and the Instagram. Give a follow on there. I will have updates on those mediums as soon as we have confirmed dates, as well as on all of the Love Wrestling mediums that you can join as well. I think we're going to jump over here. If you're following and watching along on Twitch right now, our good friend Chris Parrish is on Jupiter Vision, I believe, live doing an interview right now. We're going to send you over and raid on there. If you're watching on any of the other platforms, Facebook, YouTube, like I said, definitely consider being on Twitch. Joining on Twitch so that you don't miss the show next week. For Astrid, for Ed, I am Cody. thank you everyone for joining, for watching us here. Look forward to
Yeah,
NXT and seeing you next week.
That's not gonna work.
And-
Bye.